Welcome to the Threat Insight analysis on the United States and Iran war. This video forms part of our new series, which aims to answer how society arrived at a particular situation at a specific moment in time. We call this series, How Did We Get Here? The United States and Iran war is the first topic in this series. You are welcome to contact us and submit ideas for other topics which you would like us to research and engage with. This video is part 2 of 6 and deals with Iran, the West, and the architecture of distrust. If you have not yet viewed the preceding video on this topic, we strongly encourage you to do so and view them in sequence to ensure maximum benefit. The relationship between Iran and the Western powers did not collapse in a single moment. It devolved through a sequence of actions and counteractions in which each side interpreted the other through the memory of earlier betrayal. In the early Cold War period, Iran under the Shah was treated by the United States and Britain as a strategic asset, a pro-Western monarchy positioned near the Soviet Union, sitting on major energy reserves and capable of anchoring Western influence in the Gulf. The 1953 overthrow of Mohammad Mossadegh became the foundational grievance in the Iranian narrative because it appeared to prove that Western support for democracy was conditional on Western access to oil and strategic alignment. From the Western perspective, the Shah represented stability, modernization, and containment of Soviet influence. From the revolutionary Iranian perspective, the Shah represented foreign dependency, repression, and the humiliation of national sovereignty. This difference in interpretation is important because it explains why the same historical period is remembered so differently. Western capitals often saw a security partnership. Iranian revolutionaries saw an imposed political order. When the Islamic Revolution succeeded in 1979, it therefore did not merely replace one government with another. It reversed the symbolic direction of the state from Western-aligned monarchy to anti-imperial republic. The seizure of the United States Embassy in Tehran turned ideological hostility into institutional rupture. For Americans, the hostage crisis created a lasting image of Iran as revolutionary, unpredictable, and hostile to diplomatic norms. For Iran's revolutionary leadership, the embassy was portrayed as a center of espionage and regime restoration plotting, a claim that drew directly from the memory of 1953. This is where the dialogue between past and present becomes essential. The United States interpreted 1979 through the trauma of hostage-taking, while Iran interpreted American outrage through the older trauma of intervention. Both narratives hardened, and both narrowed the political space for reconciliation. During the 1980s, the relationship worsened further. The Iran-Iraq War convinced Tehran that the West was willing to tolerate and at times support Saddam Hussein as a counterweight to the Islamic Republic. The downing of Iran Air Flight 655 by the USS Vincennes in 1988, killing 290 civilians, reinforced the Iranian perception that Western power could impose catastrophic costs without accepting moral responsibility in Iranian terms. At the same time, Western governments increasingly viewed Iran through the lens of hostage-taking, revolutionary export, attacks on Western interests, and support for armed non-state actors. The result was a strategic mirror. Each side saw the other as the aggressor and itself as the defender. The nuclear dispute then transformed mistrust into a permanent international crisis. Iran argued that it had a sovereign right to peaceful nuclear technology, a position strengthened in its own narrative by the fact that the United States had supported the Shah's nuclear ambitions under the Atoms for Peace framework. Western powers argued that the Islamic Republic's secrecy, enrichment activities, missile program, and regional conduct created an unacceptable proliferation risk. The 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action briefly interrupted this cycle by trading nuclear limits for sanctions relief. However, the United States' withdrawal from the agreement in 2018 during President Trump's first term, it resulted in the return of maximum pressure sanctions, which confirmed Tehran's suspicion that negotiated compromise could be reversed by a change in Western leadership. The present relationship with the West is therefore one of coercive containment rather than stable diplomacy. The United States and several European powers continue to view Iran as a proliferation risk, a destabilizing regional actor, and a state sponsor of armed proxies. Iran views the Western position as an attempt to deny its sovereignty, weaken its deterrence, and ultimately force regime change. This does not mean diplomacy is impossible, but it means diplomacy operates under a heavy burden of historical distrust. Any agreement must overcome not only the technical dispute over nuclear capacity, but also the deeper Iranian belief that concessions invite further pressure, and the Western belief that pressure is necessary because Iran uses relief to expand its regional reach. This deterioration with the West explains Iran's turn toward Russia and China, but it is important not to describe these relationships as simple friendships. They are strategic partnerships built around converging interests, shared sanctions pressure, and a common desire to weaken Western dominance. Russia and Iran have moved closer because both are sanctioned, both oppose United States influence, and both have operated in overlapping theatres, such as Syria. Their cooperation deepened after Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, when Iran became an important supplier of drones and military technology to Moscow, while Russia offered Iran diplomatic cover, defense cooperation, and a wider anti-Western platform. The 2025 Iran-Russia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership Treaty formalized this trajectory by expanding cooperation across political, security, economic, energy, technology, and military domains. Yet the relationship remains partly transactional. Russia values Iran as a partner against Western pressure, but it also manages relationships with Arab Gulf states, Israel, and other regional actors. Iran values Russia as a strategic counterweight, but it also remembers earlier periods of Russian imperial pressure and does not want to become subordinate to Moscow. The partnership is therefore strong enough to shape the regional balance, but not necessarily strong enough to guarantee unconditional military support in a direct confrontation. China's relationship with Iran is different. Beijing is less interested in revolutionary ideology and more interested in energy security, trade routes, infrastructure, and a stable anti-hegemonic posture that limits United States dominance without triggering uncontrolled war. The 25-year cooperation agreement signed in 2021 created a framework for long-term economic, energy, transport, and infrastructure cooperation. China has also remained a major buyer of Iranian oil despite sanctions, giving Tehran an economic lifeline and giving Beijing discounted energy and strategic leverage in the Gulf. The emerging alignment among Iran, Russia, and China should therefore be understood as a coalition of resistance to Western coercive power, rather than a fully integrated military alliance. It gives Iran diplomatic depth, alternative markets, technology channels, military cooperation, and a stronger negotiating posture. It also gives Russia and China a way to stretch Western attention across multiple theatres. However, the alignment has limits. Russia and China may support Iran politically and economically, but neither necessarily wants a regional war that disrupts energy markets, global trade, or their own strategic priorities. This creates a paradox. Iran is less isolated than before, but it is not fully protected. For forecasting purposes, the lesson is clear. The deeper Iran's conflict with the West becomes, the more it will lean toward Russia and China. The more it leans toward Russia and China, the more Western governments will interpret Iran as part of a broader anti-Western bloc. And the more that bloc identity hardens, the less likely it becomes that any nuclear or regional agreement will be treated as a narrow technical settlement. The current relationship is therefore not merely Iran versus the West. It is increasingly Iran as a pressured regional power seeking survival through a wider Eurasian alignment, while the West attempts to prevent that alignment from becoming a durable strategic shield. This is the end of part 2. If this briefing helped you read the signs a little earlier and see the road a little more clearly, give us a like and click the bell icon so that you are informed when we post new risk assessments, situational reports, and socio-economic or political reviews. If you want to find out how Threat Insight can assist your organization with real-time and credible risk intelligence to help you navigate the complexity of the present instability, please reach out to our business development team, who is eager to assist.